Paper 1, question 15. One sheet of paper, so one sheet equals 9 times 10 to the minus 3 centimeters. Mark wants to put 500 sheets of paper into the paper tray of his printer. The paper tray is 4 centimeters deep. Is the paper tray deep enough? So what you have to do is, if you're given the thickness of one sheet, find out the thickness of 5 sheets, make a comparison with 4 centimeters, which is how deep the paper tray is. And just like a question earlier in this, you're going to have one number compared to another. It's either going to be bigger than it or less than it, and depending on that answer, you then answer the question in words. Okay. So first of all, we need to find what 500 sheets, what the thickness of 500 sheets is. So we take this number and multiply it by 500. 500 times 9 times 10 to the minus 3. Okay. When you have standard form and you're multiplying by a number, you can multiply those together. If you have lots of things multiplying each other, it doesn't matter what order you do it in, as long as you do all those multiplications. So I can go ahead and do 9 times 500, giving me 4,500 times 10 to the minus 3. Okay. Now, you do this times 10 to the minus 3, which is the equivalent of dividing by 10 to the power 3, or in other words, you're going to divide this by 1,000, which will make the place value shrink by 3. So every single one of those digits will move down 3 places. The way I always tend to show this in terms of standard form is the number you have here. On the next line, I will kind of imagine that you have columns. So this is your thousands, this is your hundreds, tens, units, so on and so forth into decimals, so on and so forth into tens of thousands, so on, and physically move those numbers. So you're getting smaller because you're dividing or because you're multiplying 10 with a negative power. 3 is how many places it's going to move, so that 4 will jump down to the units column. That 5 was to the right of the 4, it still is, but because there's a decimal point there after the units, you put a decimal point there. The zeros that come after I don't need to write. 4.5 centimeters is how thick they are. Okay, so 4.5 is bigger than 4. You kind of make that statement. Put in centimeters if you want, it doesn't really matter as long as you're stating that 4.5 is bigger than 4, and that represents 500. So therefore, now comes putting your answer in words. The tray is not deep enough. For 500 sheets. Or you could have said that 500 sheets is too big for the paper tray. However you word it, in the end, it doesn't really matter as long as you make it clear that it ain't happening, the paper's not going to fit.